There's ones where I've gone on the page, I see you come down, and I see you boom, right down the bed, and there's been no bed.
Okay, step 1. Non-permitted values. Okay, I am first going to notes. No? Okay, so I need to figure out my non-permissible values. I'm going to factor. It is a difference of squares. So x of 2 and negative 2 are the values that are not permitted. They will be vertical asymptotes unless there's been a cancellation. Is there a cancellation? No. So they are vertical asymptotes. Okay, next, let's do the degree question. What's going on? Is it higher somewhere or the same? It's higher on the bottom. So what happens with a number in math when your bottom part gets bigger? You get closer to 0. Okay, so now I need another asymptote. Okay, I'm going to tell you these values so that we can just graph it quickly. So I'm going to plug in these values. So for instance, 4 over negative 4 squared minus 4. That's what I would do. Plug in negative 4. And I would get out 4 over 12. Which is a third. So negative 4 comma 1/3. Are you okay if I give you these next numbers? You know how I get them? Okay, then 0.8 would be the next. So negative 3 comma 0.8. And for me, I can see what's happening. Are you good to see what's happening already? Or so you're going to go along your asymptotes. Okay, do we understand? I'm going to go to the bottom here. This is 0.8 and this is 1/3. Do you know why? Because me doing a negative 4 squared in there or a positive 4 squared in there is going to have the same result. So now I'm going to kind of reflect that idea. Okay, now I need the middle section. So here's your numbers. So when I plug the negative 1 in, I get a negative 1.33. Okay, once I have those three, I'm going to go like that. Okay, let's practice writing range and domain because I do have one of those on your test. Okay, domain. So the most left I am is negative infinity. Okay, so I'm moving along, I'm still existing, and then when I get to -2, I gotta make a pause. Then I continue just again after -2. So I jumped the line. I'm continuing. Then I get to +2, and I have to jump again. And then from 2, I can keep going. Okay, range. The lowest I am, I'm at negative infinity. And I'm traveling up to a height of -1. Exactly -1. Then do you notice that I have no graph existing? Right here, there's no graph existing in these heights, right? Okay, then I can start again after 0 and up. Okay, that one's a little tricky. Does that make sense? Right? There's no graph in that wide area. When I think about y, there's no graph in that section. Okay, this one is a square bracket because that was an exact point. Okay. Factor. Okay, non-permitted values. I can't have x be a -3 or a 3. But that canceled. So -3 is a whole. +3 is a vertical asymptote. Okay, let's go here. Let's get the coordinate of our hole. So the coordinate of the hole is -3, comma something. What is this equation after I canceled? 1 over x subtract 3 after I canceled. Can you insert -3 into that? Did you get -1/6? The bottom is -6. And let's talk about our degrees. Do we have higher somewhere or the same? Higher, bottom. So I have an asymptote at 3. And I'm going to draw my hole in now before I forget. Okay, so on your test, I have to clearly see the hole in your graph. Okay, I'm going to plug in some values here. Let's plug in plug in 0. So 1 over 0 minus 3 makes a negative 1/3. When I plug in a 1, it makes a negative 1/2. When I plugged in 2, it makes a negative 1. Okay, make your shape. And on your test, you do have to make that go through your hole. So sometimes you might have to extend it to make sure you're going through a hole. Okay, at 4 you're at 1, and at 5 you're at a 1/2. All right, a couple more faster questions here, and then you can work. How to kind of go backwards and make yourself an equation. Okay, we need a hole at 4. How do you make a hole? It has to have factored that cancels, factors that cancel. Okay, that's how I make the hole. I had the factors that cancel, and we have to have factors that are opposite, right? So a positive 4 means my factor is x minus 4. We need a vertical asymptote at negative 1. So therefore I need an x plus 1 on the bottom. Okay, how do I make a horizontal asymptote at a value that's not 0, any number? What's the situation that created a number asymptote? It would be a same. And whatever values I have there need to divide by 2. Or divide to be 2. Okay, so look at your degrees. Are they the same? No, they're not the same degree. This is just an x, and this would be an x squared. So somewhere along the line, I need to add another x multiplier. Somebody could have x plus 5 there. I don't care, as long as you're adding another x factor. And you can put me any digits there that divide to 2. So somebody could write 10 and 5. I'm just going to write 2 and 1, but you could have wrote a 10 and a 5, 20 and 10, whatever, as long as they divide to 2. Okay, we need a vertical asymptote at 5 and negative 5. We need a horizontal asymptote at 0 So I need anything as long as it's higher degreed on the bottom, which it's an x squared on the bottom, so you could put just a number, or you could put 6x, I don't know. As long as you don't make it an x squared, don't do that, right? Because then it changes. Make an equation for a rational that has a domain from negative infinity to 6, and then 6 to infinity. Okay, so you need to have a restriction for the number 6. Okay, does this make sense of me going backwards? There's a non-permissible value of 6. Okay, so that's all I have to think about there. And how do I make no horizontal asymptotes? The rule is to be higher degreed on the top. So whatever I put on the top needs to be more than an x. So you could be an x squared, you could be an x cubed, whatever. You need to make that degree higher on the top. Okay, should we do one more practice with domain range? There's a test question exactly like this. Okay, by the way, this is a -1 and a +1. Those asymptote lines. So we're going to go from negative infinity up to the asymptote of -1. Then we have to skip it, start again right after, so -1 again, up to 1, skip over it, start again to infinity. Range. So as I look at this, there's nothing in that zone right there, okay? So we have to think about that. So starting at the bottom, we're down here. So negative infinity up to this point with a height of 0. Square bracket on that guy. Union. So now I skip a bunch of numbers. 1, 2, this is a height of 3, and then we shoot up after that. Okay, but can you see why I'm using round versus the squares in those